Kia ora. Welcome to this week's edition of Media Insider, the podcast. I'm Shane Curry, the New Zealand Herald Editor-at-Large, and this week I'm pleased to say my guest is Madison Malone, host of the New Zealand Herald's groundbreaking business show, Markets with Madison. Madison is making a very bold business move in the journalism world. She's breaking away from the mothership to become an independent broadcaster. She's becoming one of the entrepreneurs that she's featured so regularly on one of her business shows. I spoke to Madison about that bold move and just how the new business model will operate, as well as the state of journalism and her own approach to interviews. Here's Madison. Madison Malone, welcome to the Media Insider podcast.
Thank you for having me, Shane. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you, and it's an exciting time for you. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is because you're a fledgling success story now, and you've had some big news in recent weeks, and that you've broken away from NZME, still attached to the company.
I'm still here. I'm still physically here.
Still physically here. You've and come into the studio today to talk about your new venture. I want to talk firstly about the risk, I guess. Are you finding a risk? Are you excited about the new challenge? I'm
trying not to think or talk about the risk, Shane, but I mean, yeah, absolute risk. But I just decided to take a risk on myself.
Because you've been in the industry, by my calculations, you've been obviously at a fair number of media companies already, and you've seen how they've all operated. About a decade in the game?
Yeah, not long.
Not long. And a success story in a lot of ways in terms of your audience. But what's led to it? What's made you think I can do this by myself?
Well, I still don't know if I can. I'm still figuring it out, right? So fingers crossed I can. Yeah. But wanted to try. And I'm someone who just decided to back myself, and like you said, I've been through numerous media companies, and I've started to realise that I think the best fit is building a relationship with your audience directly, and I've been really lucky that I've been able to do that kind of through my time at media companies, and NZME has been super gracious in kind of allowing me to do that both here as first an employee and now sort of as a contractor on paper. So yeah, I just thought that from what I've seen around the world, this should be a pretty easy playbook. I mean, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. You know, there is a massive industry of content creators. They seem to be doing okay financially and making it work. So I'm not really making things up.
But we are seeing a lot of journalists around the world, and you here in New Zealand, who are going it alone, who have decided that there is a business model there, for a great content, as you say, go direct to a consumer. You've had some very early great success with Markets with Madison. Tell me about, firstly, how the idea of Markets with Madison came about.
You know the story.
I do, but I want you to tell us.
Okay, well, you know the story well, so I'll be repeating this to you, but to anybody else listening, it might be new to them. I actually gave up on media. I had been through broadcasting, I worked in print, then radio, and then TV, in kind of general media, but also specifically business, but when I was on TV, it was a bit of a mix of both. And I gave up, I actually left it all behind, was happy to kind of say goodbye to that period of my life.
You went to Jarden, right?
And I went to Jarden. I went to an investment bank, which was an idea I'd been sitting on for a couple of years and just hadn't felt like I'd done what I wanted to do in media yet. I really wanted to kind of celebrate business and make a big deal about business success as much as I could in media, which was hard in different formats, especially 6 p.m. news when you kind of get, 90 seconds to tell a business story, which is never enough. And so gave it all up after COVID. It was pretty brutal out there, and I'd covered really, sad economic stories, and I felt like I'd done my bit. And so went to the investment bank Jarden and headed up their content division there. And it was awesome. I mean, it was I kind of say it's like entering your cult or religion, right? Finance were my people. It was just I'd go in there and you'd talk about markets and numbers all day, and I loved it. It was just I'd found my place, and we did some really awesome stuff, but the environment was just different for me. I'm a very fast-paced, talking 2x type person, and I felt like I couldn't deliver on the pace and cadence that I wanted to there, even though the ideas were really good. I was just getting a little bit frustrated with the speed.
Right. What a kind of conservatism around decision making, or
and has to be, right. I mean, it's in the financial space, therefore there's regulation. I wasn't used to operating with regulation and lawyers, so that was a learning curve for me. But I was, still in my 20s, and I was I've still got energy. This would be a great job if I was 35, 40, maybe 50 with kids. But it's I've still got energy, and I feel like I still have something to give. And when I was there, I saw that there was this real ecosystem of executives and entrepreneurs and amazing ideas, and research analysts had such intellect and knowledge, but it wasn't being shared. to investors and people using Sharesies or people on the street, retail investors, right? And so I just saw a massive gap. And I think actually taking time out of media made me really realise that there was a gap for something like what I've created. Didn't know if it was going to work.
And
but
did you identify it while you were at Jardine that
I did.
you knew that, I mean, your love of journalism came to the fore again, and that you could do this at a media company?
But I also couldn't have done what I'm doing now without my time in finance. And that's a fact. Like, Jardine is as much a part of my success story as any other kind of media company has been. So that was actually really good for me in terms of being able to speak that language, understand how these people think. I mean, getting to sit next to and be with the research analysts and think of like the kind of questions that they ask, you know, to these CEOs in meetings, like phenomenal stuff, right? So really lucky to have had a front row seat and be part of that process. And then thought, how about I can kind of add my media stance to this and like have a bit of fun with it at the same time. So I spoke to a guy on the phone called Shane Curry.
Oh, yeah, heard of him.
That guy.
Yeah.
And I said to you, like, I kind of have this idea. I don't have the resource to be able to make it happen. NZME obviously does. And you had the guaranteed audience that we could kind of put this out in the world to, right? And we did it.
We did it. And I think, you know, one of the advantages, I think, for us, and I remember talking to Duncan Bridgman about it, was what you talked about earlier, that the 6 o'clock news can give you, 1 or 2 minutes to tell a story. Whereas Markets with Madison, you pitched it as, 15 to 20 minutes, maybe longer at times, to really delve into a business. And I think you took a really positive, upbeat, kind of optimistic view as well, right? Is that something that is ingrained in you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a glass half full person, right? Like, I want to celebrate New Zealand businesses. And I don't know if it's a generational thing, but I think like my generation doesn't have the tall poppy syndrome as much as previous generations. Like, we genuinely want to see businesses succeed. Not to say there's not going to be hard questions along the way, questions about challenges and competition. Like, that's all part of the story. And like, failure is often part of the success, which I genuinely believe needs to be celebrated as well. And I just wanted to canvas all of that. But with this lean of like, yeah, but we want you to win. Like, I don't even think that's a political statement, nor should it be, that like we should want New Zealand businesses to win here and win around the world. And that's always been my mindset. And I've always kind of struggled in a way with the fact that in media, whether it be print, radio, or TV, like there had to be a negative stance with it. And it just didn't gel well with businesses. Like, that wasn't what they wanted, you know, their coverage of their company to be. And it wasn't doing them justice either. I found it strange, and I always had to kind of force myself into this, oh yeah, but what's the problem? And I was just didn't want to do that anymore. So when I created my own show, I was like, I actually don't have to do it that way. And I think the gap is that people aren't doing it that way. Therefore, that's an edge and an advantage and something different that I can bring. And that by default then made businesses and entrepreneurs and executives like more excited and interested to be on the show because they felt like they'd get a chance. Yeah, they'd be asked some hard questions for sure, but they're so happy to talk about that. If the intent is for investors and other people to understand what they're doing and why, then they're more than happy to share the challenges and the problems along the way. But it's not like we're gonna, you know, put that up in lights and say, well, this is shit, or you're doing that wrong. It's like, it's all the conversation, right?
Yeah, you're placing it all within that context
Totally.
of a longer form conversation that's on camera.
Yeah, but it's actually, on that point of when I first pitched it to you as like a 15-minute show, it's changed so much. I mean, the reason it was called Markets with Madison too was it was like very markets, economic news, rates, update heavy. It's so not that now. And thank God, because I would rather be timeless than trying to time the market all the time.
And it changed why? Because you were listening to the audience? What kind of data were you getting?
Yeah,
what feedback were you getting?
Definitely. I mean, every single thing I do is with them in mind. Like, and I always say to them, if you don't like this with what I'm experimenting with, like, tell me, because I want to do less of that and more of what you do enjoy. So they drive everything always. And that's kind of a brutal position to put yourself in, right? I mean, we're always like, don't read the comments. I'm like, I'm reading every single comment and replying to 80% of them. So listening to the audience has definitely been part of that process. But it was also like what I enjoyed doing and what I felt that people coming on the show were more receptive to. And like, I love video and I wanted to get out and film these awesome ideas and companies, and the audience loved being taken inside these businesses, whether it was a Rocket Lab, a Halter, a Zuru. Like, one thing that I feel like I can really provide is not only access to these people, but I figured out quite quickly is that I can actually give you access inside their companies, inside their minds and inside their physical businesses.
That's right. Some of the great footage that we've seen from Rocket Lab, from Halter when you've been in the States just recently with
on the ranch
in Colorado, right? That's incredible. And it seems to me that your access as time has gone on, I mean, are the doors now opening much more than they once did?
Yeah, it was never particularly difficult though. And I think that is because I always offered something different and like a different viewpoint and different energy in this space, I hope. And so it was always, there was always interest in coming on the show. It's always just a matter of timing with these CEOs and execs and wherever they are in the world, and if they're in the middle of a financial raise or something, if they're in a blackout period, it's always a bit tricky. But it definitely has become only easier for sure.
Yeah. You make an interesting point around the tall poppy syndrome. Do you feel, and you've obviously led the charge in a lot of respects in breaking away from that, and your observations
I'm one of many, I think.
Are interesting. Well, I was going to ask, do you think the broader media industry is adapting to that as well now?
I think so. I mean, I definitely, take my hat off to the Herald business team for sure. Like Chris Keel especially does an amazing job of covering New Zealand tech startups and success stories. So I'm definitely one of many. I think maybe the fact that I am young and have energy and it's video, people think it's something different. But there definitely has been a shift internally. Not the majority though. And I think only business has really started to lean into this optimism space because it's where you can, because there is real success stories that are interesting because they're amazing, and we're allowed to cover that, which is really cool. But I think more broadly for media, I mean, if it bleeds, it still leads, right?
Yeah, I think there's a misnomer, hasn't there been, in the past where positive stories, while everyone says they want positive stories, there's been this kind of...
They don't click on them.
Yeah, that's always been the narrative, whereas I think that's changing quite a lot when people do see individual Kiwi success stories, which you've been highlighting.
I think you have to be intentional about it too. Like, I am very open saying, like, I want business to win, and you come to my show to see them win. So I'm selling people on that up front. Like, you're not coming to my show to like watch any gotcha journalism. Like, you ain't going to get that with me.
Yeah, although you've had, as you say, you do still ask the difficult questions. One that comes to mind, because probably the famous one is Adrian Orr.
So please don't dumb your audience down by saying watch a video.
I'm not, but it seems that you are dumbing it down in these videos, because this was a 3.5, very simple and effective, and I understand that, but we've even spoken about how complex of a topic this can be. So it is, that message that you put out was targeted towards most New Zealanders who don't understand things at depth. So I'm rather pointing out the fact that it wasn't included in that.
Well, I think it's more about what is inflation. Full stop.
Very grouchy in the interview with you, wasn't he?
It's a strong word. I mean, he was defensive, and he had a record to defend. So
yeah. How did you find that? How did you personally find that particular interview?
I didn't enjoy it.
Right, really?
Yeah, no,
Just the combative style of it,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a combative person. Like, I think all my friends and like my husband would know, like, she doesn't like a fight, like I would, that's not why I go into these things. I always go in with the intent to understand, right? And often you have to ask challenging questions, especially in that type of environment with the decisions that were made. And people were relying on me to do that. It's when you're in the room, it's only you and this other person, and it can be really hard and you feel very isolated. And there was a point in that interview where I was like, am I asking stupid questions? And when I put that interview out, I genuinely thought it might have been a flop. Like, I genuinely didn't think that was my best work, nor was I particularly proud of it. But I think people were just glad that somebody had at least asked the questions. And I didn't try and ask them in a combative way. Like, I genuinely hope it didn't come across that way, and I hope he didn't feel like that.
Well, he was kind enough to host you down in Wellington.
Totally. And I'm sure he would have had me back again. Not that I asked, but like I never want to leave these things with like a bad taste in anyone's mouth. Yeah.
Well, it's a segue to what we were discussing earlier about business success stories. I mean, you yourself are creating your own business success story now with your new business model. 2.1 million YouTube views, I think 26,500 subscribers on your YouTube channel. What are the advantages and disadvantages of going alone, of branching out, breaking away?
Incorporating your own company, having to pay an accountant, setting yourself up for GST, not sleeping, much more coffee intake, the uncertainty of revenue, the upfront capital costs I've spent on camera equipment and other things.
Why are you doing it?
Yeah, great question. I haven't quite asked myself that. Freedom.
You're a risk taker?
No, I'm not. I'm really not. Right. I'm really not. No. And I genuinely didn't think I would ever do this. Right. And I had multiple people saying to me, you know, why aren't you doing it on your own? Because like I said, it's a playbook that's everywhere else in the world. And people kind of thought I had a product where I could do it on my own.
Have the people that you've been interviewing inspired you in some way to?
Enormously. I've been really, really lucky to spend time with these people. And like, if you're not inspired by the people I'm spending time with, like, what are you doing, right? And, you know, even people like Peter Beck are just like, take a chance on yourself, you know? I think when I told him I was taking the show independent, he was like, oh God, about time. Because I think people that I know have been waiting for me to do something like this. And I genuinely don't know if it's going to work. But like, I hope it will. But to your point on the business model, like there's multiple facets of the revenue stream. So there's different things I can rely on, and it's just about, there's no one way to kind of make money well. And what I'm doing, I have to do multiple things like emceeing and speaking on the side to kind of supplement income and all these other things. The main revenue maker on the show will be sponsorship. But the best thing about that and doing it on my own is that I get full line of sight of the money coming in and I get to decide what to do with it. And I think that was really part of my decision, was that I want to be able to decide if we should go and spend 2 weeks in San Fran because there's OpenAI and other companies there that we can do episodes with. I get to make that call as long as the money's there and I get to figure out if we can afford to. I say we, it's literally me because I'm filming these episodes, but hopefully there'll be a team at some stage. Just being able to make those decisions for my audience and for me. And also, not only is this like a show on my business, it's also my life, you know? And it's like, these are all life experiences. And I want to be able to decide what I do with my life. I would say freedom would be the overarching thing, but freedom is not as freeing as it sounds. It's scary.
But you've got sponsors lined up? You've got sponsors on board? Not yet?
Nope.
Not yet?
No. What about anyone's watching?
So what are you doing? You're out pitching at the moment?
I am.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The YouTube side of it though, does that play only a pretty small percentage of your overall
Hopefully an
revenues?
increasing percentage, yeah. So obviously the YouTube channel is monetized, which is awesome. So I have a great relationship with YouTube now as well. So the plan is to only increase that, right? But my view is that you shouldn't rely on these distribution platforms for revenue. I mean, if you're Mr. Beast and you can, phenomenal, right? To not have to answer to sponsors would be incredible, but that's just not reality. And especially given the fact that mine's a business show, I mean, it is kind of fact that financial content does pay better in terms of advertising on these distribution platforms. Not that there's full line of sight on that because YouTube doesn't tell you, but it's just known among the creator community that it pays better. But it's very much a B2B model in terms of like the revenue earning of it. I also want it to be a place where businesses get exposure, not only from the coverage, but in terms of manual ad placement as well.
The other interesting aspect to it, you talk a lot about the freedom and the attraction of that. There's also that trust aspect, right? Where, you know, it's a massive question for all media companies at the moment, but where individuals are making leeway is the direct to consumer or direct to business, direct conversations. Did that play a part in it as well? That in order to, you know, building up that trust and integrity?
It certainly did. I mean, it's something that I take really seriously, and something that I certainly wanted to be able to control and have throughout this journey of creating the show, is that I've always been very deliberate about this is my relationship with my audience. And when you're part of a broader network, that can get a little bit messy. It's something that I've always kind of taken personal accountability for anyway. But then being able to do that fully on my own is quite a nice feeling.
You've just come back from the States.
I have.
5 weeks.
A long time.
A long time. I think 3 weeks under the auspices of the New Zealand-US Council, and then sponsored for the other 2 weeks. Tell me about this, you know, how people are feeling in the States now. You've obviously talked to a lot of people, a lot of Kiwi businesses that are based over there and raising a lot of capital. What's the general mood of the place?
I mean, it's just the land of opportunity. Truly, like the vibe in a place like San Francisco or Texas or even in New York, it's just people are there to make something of themselves. They aren't afraid to ask for help or ideas or inspiration. It's a really cool place to be. I think the States is interesting when, you know, we're from New Zealand, right? Like we hear about the States, but we're not there often. And the conversations of the United States outside the United States are very different to when you're actually in the US. I don't think I spoke to anyone about politics at all when I was there, but obviously everyone outside of America talks about America's politics. Yeah.
So internally, that's just because they're getting on with life?
Yeah, and getting on with doing things and building, right? People are there operating. So, yeah, people are it done.
And the New Zealand businesses that you spoke to, tell us, you spoke to a full range of...
There's still more to come too.
Who was the most impressive, or who stood out?
They all stood out for different reasons, right? And I tried to not have any overlap in terms of industry. So Zuru, obviously incredible to get inside like Nick Mowbray's mind. Like, wow, what a weapon. So that was really cool. And just the scale of that business. Like, I mean, I couldn't even fully realize it because we were only in LA, like one part of their business, obviously the bigger part's in China. So just like what they've built is just honestly phenomenal. And I don't think most people realize how big it is. You know, where the headquarters is, there's Mattel down the road and like Hasbro next door. It's like, and they're literally playing in like against these huge incumbent players, and they're one of them, like they're one of three. So that was phenomenal. Halter, I loved. I mean, we timed that really well with their raise. So I was working on kind of this episode with them behind the scenes and, you know, and really deep discussions with their team about how we also communicate the raise. So it was really nice to kind of feel like part of their team for a while. Similarly to Tracksuit, you know, we filmed in Times Square, which was awesome, obviously. But they'd also just done their raise and trying to kind of be part of their team as to how we communicate that with the world. Like I've been really lucky to be brought into that. Crimson Education is one that should be coming out this week, if not next.
Jamie Beaton?
Yeah, phenomenal guy. I mean, I recommend watching that one not on 2x speed, given that Jamie and I together, like, probably talk at 4x speed when we're talking. We're both very, very fast talkers and caffeinated people. So awesome just to spend time with him. And again, like, these people are really humble, right? But what they've achieved in like the epicenter of the world is truly incredible. So I hope that my episodes do at least a little bit of justice to them.
And of course, at the moment, the show's called Markets with Madison.
It is.
Have you got a new announcement for us? I mean, is NZME, they're kind of holding on to that name, are they? And you're having to come up with a new name or a new brand for the show?
Which like I'm fully okay with, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like it's time. You know, as I said to you, the show has really evolved from, it's not even about markets anymore. As much as I love the alliteration of that name, I feel like it's time for kind of a reinvention. So I don't know if I should tell you or not.
Come on.
I'm keen for your thoughts. And I didn't want to change it up too much. And so I'm just going with Business with Madison.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, that's a lovely tweak, isn't it, in terms of, and keeping your name there, which is important. I think if you look at the Joe Rogan, you know, I mean, all of these people who are, whether it's Joe Rogan right through to individual journalists, I think extending your brand, right, is a key.
Yeah, I think I don't want it to be about me, nor do I think it should be. That's not necessarily part of the strategy. It's just purely that that's in the name. And I very much feel like I'm the conduit and I give people access, but beyond that, it's not about me. It just so happens to be my name and face in it.
So when does that debut, that brand?
In a couple of months.
Right. So is that once you break away from the mothership?
The mothership. Yeah, for sure.
And so those links, do you think you'll reattach yourself at some point to a media company like NZME, or is this fully going it alone?
Yeah, I think I have to kind of divorce myself from it if I want it to work, right? I think like I need to do that for myself. Otherwise, you have this lifeblood of the mothership and kind of this capital that you can rely on. I really have to force myself out into this world where I am truly on my own. And that's terrifying and isolating. But I feel like if I don't do that, then why did I leave? So, yeah. I mean, never say never, right? I mean, I might come crawling back, who knows?
I want to go back a little bit into your love of journalism. Has that been with you since being a kid?
Yeah. I remember, well, I don't remember, but I've been told numerous times in my life that I was always watching the news. Like I watched Judy Bailey growing up, Mother of the Nation. Like I was obsessed. Like I used to watch the TV, and from when I could speak, I said, I'm going to do that to my parents. I pointed at the TV and said, that's me.
Right.
And they doubted it. Like they were like, it's hard, you know, very few people get to that level, you know. It's not going to be easy. And I...
But it was always that visual space, that video kind of, or TV environment.
Yeah, I mean, I loved TV. Like, oh my gosh, I just loved it. Yeah, absolutely loved TV. And it was never about like the fame nor wanting to be on screen or anything. I genuinely just reckon it's the best way to speak to an audience. It's like, show me, don't tell me. You know, it's like, I don't want to have to read or make the audience read something and make them put in the work to understand something. It's like, that's my job. Let me show it to you. So yeah, I love that part of it.
So then I read a great quote that you actually posted on LinkedIn.
Oh no, you've been trawling my online posts.
Well,
really good.
This is a great one. I mean, you went to AUT, you studied there,
I did.
right? But you said you've written on LinkedIn.
Oh no!
University is a waste of time. You learned 100 times more working the 3 jobs while you were enrolled.
Yeah, stand by it.
Yeah. What were the 3 jobs?
I sold shoes to earn money. I had an internship at TVNZ, which I believe wasn't paid for the first part of it, and then it became paid like 1 or 2 days a week, and just loved being part of that ecosystem, like obsessed with TV. And then I actually ended up leaving TVNZ because I was also at the same time doing a free internship at a company called Unfiltered, which, rest in peace, Jake Miller, who was a friend of mine. He started this platform where he would interview CEOs. And I feel like I'm kind of carrying on his legacy in a way. Yeah. He had the right idea, he was just too early.
Yeah. But you did raise a good point. The broader point is that being stuck in a classroom,
complete waste of time.
learning about journalism or broadcasting, you
Get into it.
You got to be out in the field, right? I remember when the ATI back in those days, the journalism course was 6 months.
It probably still should be.
And you were out, basically you're only in the classroom to learn how to type in shorthand.
I didn't even learn shorthand. Like, what did I do at 3 years of journalism school if I didn't even learn shorthand, right? So I had to make up my own version. I think the only thing they should probably teach is like ethics, but you also still, like, you have to be put in certain scenarios and environments and see how you handle them and learn how to cope with people in certain situations. Like, to learn that as opposed to being in a classroom. It's just, I'm all about practical, not theory.
And after leaving AUT, and obviously you had your internships at TVNZ and Unfiltered, as you spoke about, but you've had time at Stuff, RNZ, and Newshub is probably where, you came to public recognition in a lot of respects in terms of the business work that you were doing.
Not how many people were watching TV then or still are now, but it was definitely, I was thrown on camera, right? I remember doing my first live cross. It was about Air New Zealand's full financial year results, and Eric Young looked at me and said, "Shut up, Maddie." So you get thrown into this environment. And my first one I didn't up, but my second one I did. And they were like, "That's right, it's only your second one." Because my first one was so good, I thought I'd be fine. And then my second one, which was for the 6 p.m. news that night, which more people were probably watching, just felt that pressure. The first one, you would just like wing it. And then second one, you were like, "Oh, can we wing it again?" We're still winging it.
Well, and it's a special skill, right? The live cross. I'm sure. Did you get used to it in the end?
No, it's the most uncomfortable. That's not a natural position for anyone to be in. It's yuck. Like, still, the thought of it makes me want to be sick. I mean, you obviously get better at them, but they're not a nice position to be in. You've got someone in your ear counting you down. It's just remember your lines. It's horrible.
And of course, sadly, a lot of your colleagues who were still at Newshub lost their roles last year with the closure of Newshub. Where do you see the future of journalism in terms of the broader industry? Obviously, there are individuals branching out and trying new platforms and going direct to the audience. But where do you see this future?
It's interesting. I don't spend too much time thinking about it. Truly, I'm really focused on what I'm doing, and I think it's quite obvious that I'm doing what I'm doing because I believe that is the future, and I believe that that is what works. I truly hope media survives. It's like I still love this industry, but I think it has made many mistakes, and it is, its demise is partly its own fault.
Through what, business models?
Business models. I mean, I think the industry now recognises it probably shouldn't have taken money from certain areas because of the way that looked. I think they could probably be a bit more open on their mistakes, to be honest. I think they've largely forgotten about who they're talking to. Like I talk to my audience. I know who they are. I want to know more about them. I have a relationship with them. I think that's been lost and forgotten about a little bit. I think that is the whole point of this industry. Like, that's who you answer to. You don't answer to advertisers or anyone else. That's who you're talking to. I'd like to see a bit more of that come back into focus. And I think now you can't ignore the power of other platforms, right? Like, you shouldn't expect your audience to come to you because you are the newsroom or the paper or television station of record, right? It's like you actually need to go where they are, and you need to put that effort in and work in and make something that's interesting to them that they want to watch or they want to read. You don't just get to sit back and go, "Oh, they'll come to us." Like, if any other business did that, they'd die. So I don't know why media is kind of surprised that if they've lost sight of that, that's been happening to them.
Yeah, that connection, right? So vital. So aside from YouTube, and perhaps just to wrap up our fascinating conversation today, Madison, just in terms of the other distribution channels that you're looking at, what else is out there, do you think, in the future where you'll be going direct?
Well, there's social, obviously, and social is something that I probably haven't put as much effort into as I should. So I definitely need to think about that more and create more social content. And each platform's different, right? So there's Instagram Reels, obviously, which is kind of top of the funnel shorts to draw and tease attention into the long form episodes on YouTube, but then there's like TikTok and people want more behind the scenes, right? I think even on YouTube, there's more opportunity for me to do more behind the scenes content and take people into the process of me making these episodes, which I'd love to do more of, but it's just a resource thing, right? Like it's hard to film myself behind the scenes when it's just me, you know? So more of that, hopefully, if I get more resource, that would be the aim. Yeah. The show still goes out as a podcast as well, and Apple Podcasts and Spotify allow you to do video, and I believe especially Spotify is trying to push more video. Monetizing that is quite difficult. I'm big on X. I've started dropping full episodes on X, on Twitter. Right. Not that it pays anything, but I believe I'm still very much in an experiment mode and can't say no to anything at all at this point. Therefore, I should be testing these new platforms.
Yeah, getting your name out there, getting the new brand out there.
Yeah, still trying to gain net new audience, right? And, you know, exposure ultimately leads to financial freedom in the long run. But I just think, you know, these are stories that I want to share and I want as many people to see as possible around the world. So the more I can do that, the better.
You've already had some big names to the portfolio over the last few years. Who are you targeting next?
Elon. Let's go, Elon. Yeah.
Aim high?
Yeah, God, yeah, absolutely. I mean, also just like, what a mind. Like, to be able to spend some time picking that guy's brain, like, fascinating. But in saying that, I mean, SpaceX is a company I seriously admire. Love to interview Gwynne Shotwell, the chief operating officer of SpaceX. It was picked by Elon, right? Like, she would be phenomenal. Love rockets. Any chance to see a rocket, I'm there.
So business with Madison, with maybe Elon in the future.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Madison, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Madison, and all the best with the new venture. Hopefully we'll still see your name featuring strongly in the New Zealand Herald from time to time. That's it for this week's Media Insider podcast. Don't miss the weekly Media Insider column every Friday at nzherald.co.nz or in the Weekend Herald every Saturday. I'll catch you next week.